Happy Monday! We are starting on time today, if you haven't noticed the large clock behind me. And we're just gonna do a quick review today about time, and then this week you'll have lots of practice with it. So, I know that a lot of you have worked with time in first grade, and you probably did it at the end of the year. So it's probably been about a year since you worked with time. So I have a few clocks here with me today, and the one behind me, and even this one. And we're gonna use all these clocks just to remind us about the important things that we need to remember about clocks and telling time, okay? So I am going to start with this clock today. Here is my clock, and if you can see, because you have two eyes, you know that I have two different color hands on my clock. I have a red hand and a blue hand, and the first thing I need to figure out in order to tell time is I need to tell the difference between those two hands. Now, they're not always going to be different colors. As you can see on this clock, they are the same color. So how can I figure out the difference between these two hands? Well, looks like one is a little bit longer than the other. Do you remember what the difference between these two hands are, or what they tell us, how we can read them? Well, if you remember from first grade, then you'll remember that the longest hand, which in this case is blue, is the minute hand. Can you say minute hand? Great job. The minute hand reads the minutes on the clock. That's all you have to remember. Super easy. The name tells you what it does. Now, the red hand, or the short hand, is the hour hand. Can you say hour hand? Awesome. Hour hand reads the hours on a clock. Now, one reason I love this particular clock is because it matches the numbers with the hand. So, as you see, the red hand and the red numbers here match. That's because all of the numbers inside of the clock are the hours. And as you can see, there is a total of 12. There are 12 red numbers in the inside of the clock. And the red hand reads or tells us the red numbers, which are the hours. Now, the blue hand, as you can see, there's numbers outside of the clock. There's not always that on a clock. As you can see, there's no numbers on the outside here. There's no numbers on the outside here. So they're not always going to show up. But this clock is a teaching clock, so it has them there. And those are the minutes. And as you can notice, there's a lot more. Up here, it says 60. That's the biggest number on this clock. That's because there are 60 minutes on a clock, okay? So those are two things that are super important. Our hour hand, our minute hand, and knowing what they read, okay? So as you can see, for each red number, for each hour, there is a big line, usually. Here we have like a bolded line on the hour numbers. Same thing up here. It's a more bold line. That tells us the hours. But then there's all these little ticks in between the hours. If you were to count them, let's actually do it now. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means that every hour number on here is worth 5 minutes. 5 minutes has passed. That's why you see on here it's counting by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. So that is what we're gonna be working on, is telling time by 5 minutes. And we're gonna be working on that a little bit later. But I just wanted to give a quick review of the time. Now, one last thing I wanna do before the end of this lesson is I wanna remind you about one thing. So, if I were to write this time. I see that the hour hand is pointing very clearly to that 3. So I know that the hour is 3, and I'm gonna write it right here. So I write the hour here, and I write the minutes after that. Now, this minute says 60, but I don't know if I've ever seen a time or heard anyone say, oh, it's 3:60, time for me to go eat lunch. I've never heard that before. So do you know what we're supposed to do when that minute hand is pointing all the way up here on that 12? Is it 60 minutes? Let's check our other clock. Well, this one says 62. Do you know what we're supposed to do? I think I heard someone say it. 3 o'clock. That means when the minute hand is on the 12, right here, that we are at a new hour. So this is 2:59, and then if I go one more, I'm now at 3 o'clock. But how do I write that?